All right, guys, pretty short video coming up here. This is the video for our watch list for Monday, April 14th. The SPY, I would say, put in a narrow range compared to the last week or so, but just keep in mind everything's relative. Narrow range in this case, low of 520-ish and a high of 536. So a $16 range has become a narrow day on the SPY. That's how crazy things are. Let me slide this over. It is a pretty good day trading environment, though. If you're new in chat, please pause the video and read that. So the best call in chat on Friday by far was Miguel, and he gave us RX. We threw that on the gap playlist at pre-market. Once the market opened, his idea was back through 5, and you can see what it did. It went to 6, and I think it was like 15 cents risk that never stopped out. Great call. I also made a pullback call on that one that gave a nice trade for some of us too. And that one is definitely on watch for Monday. Just keep in mind, the overall market is kind of in control right now. I think something came out in after hours on Friday. There are some exemptions to the tariffs. Apple, Nvidia, Dell, and others. Good news. I'm just trying to paraphrase here, but a new list of goods to be exempted from the latest rounds of tariffs on U.S. importers. And so that whole group might spike by the time we log in on Monday in pre-market, though. Everyone's going to see that, so it won't be something that we've got any kind of advantage on. But still, if they catch some legs, then we will certainly know how to play the pullbacks on an intraday basis in those. So anyway, that's kind of where we are. But the overall market's in such control that there aren't very many charts that I think are standouts. So here goes. RXRX, I already mentioned. BNGO on Thursday topped out at 460. On Friday, topped out at 456. Could be a third day play for sure. BFRG, which is an AI play, got a nice spike on Friday. Could have a continuation day. I'm going to put Nvidia and Apple. They look very similar. I put out a poll on Twitter probably this day asking if y'all thought the SPY had bottomed for April, and it's starting to feel like maybe it has, right? We're not halfway through April yet, but this may have been the bottom for April. We'll see. Things are feeling less and less like the end of the world, though. So anyway, Nvidia goes on watch. Apple, as I'd already mentioned, and I'm going to throw it. Come on, Apple. It's loading slow. Looks very similar to Nvidia. Certainly could be in play on Monday, and I threw Dell on there too. And then a couple more. CRML. Nice little breakout on volume on Friday. Could continue. And then I'm going to put NMAX Newsmax back on watch. We just got another red day. I actually had a decent trade in that one on Ramesh's call on an intraday basis on Friday. Believe he called it over 27.50, which was right about there. And it looks like, hey, that's a bad trade. But it went all the way to 28.80. As it broke the high of day and got up near 28 and over 28, I started scaling out. Put my last few shares at break even and stopped out on my last few shares. But I had a nice little trade in it, and it ended up bleeding lower the rest of the day. Why is this on watch? Let me go back to the daily. It's on watch because, again, it made that crazy run from 14 to 265 in 2 days, and then it's bleeding lower, which is fully expected, right? But now you got 4 days in a row red. I don't know if we're going to take out 14, but if we get anywhere near 14, its IPO price, that's going to be super interesting. But I'm going to treat it like a bounce play. What I'd really like to see, just to clarify, especially if you're not in the chat room, let me go to 15-minute candles. What I'd really like to see is an afternoon break of an early high, right? So 5 days ago hit 64 bucks ish, but then you notice the next day the opening high or the early high was well, let me rephrase that. The high of day happened early, same as the next day and the next day, and then technically this was still in the first hour that it hit the highs for the day on Friday. So what I'd like to see is it set its early high and then an afternoon break of that high. That could give us a squeeze. All right, so that's my favorite scenario on it. Most of you know that, but and we may get a gap down bounce play setup as well. Anyway, this video wasn't as short as I thought it was going to be. It was still fairly short. I'm done. We'll see you. Have a great Sunday, and I'll see you in chat on Monday in the pre-market.